Hi, my name is Omar Shefkat, and I'm a PhD student at the Department of Energy Technology at KDH. My research area is focused on smart cities and energy systems, and today I'm going to talk about my experience as a PhD student.
All right, welcome everyone. My name is Omar Shafkat, and I'm a PhD student at the Department of Energy Technology. Today, the purpose is to inspire you about how on following a research career. But my main good goal would be to try not to depress you too much about it today. So, how many of you have been considering to get into research, or is the main motivation to be here free lunch? Well, for me it is. Anyway, once you graduate, there is a lot of different pathways that are available to you, and it is a very difficult decision which way to go. And I wouldn't tell you to go for a PhD career, but I can just tell you about my own experience, and it's really up to you guys to decide. So, before I get into who I am and what I do, let's start with some numbers. 6.7%, that's the number of people that's the percentage of people in the world who hold a college degree. And 0.98% roughly is the population of the world that has a doctorate degree. Now, there is another number, which is rumor has it that 70% of the people who go for a PhD do so they can call themselves doctors, but it's just a rumor. Now, in order to explain what a PhD is, I would refer to Might's Illustrated Guide to a PhD. So if you assume this is the entire, this circle is the entire, encompasses the entire human knowledge, then this is sort of the knowledge you get when you're at school. And then you get into high school and you get a little bit more. In your bachelor's, you get into a specialization. In your master's, it extends a bit more. Well, when you read research papers, you're sort of at the edge of human knowledge. And it looks like this. And then you keep pushing, and at a certain point, the boundary gives away. And that is sort of what PhD is. The world looks very different to you now. But you have to remember that it's just a small part of things. And the important thing is to keep pushing. So, coming back to who I am, well, this is a question, I work with computer models quite often, and this is a question that I keep asking myself quite often, which is usually followed by the question, what on earth am I doing with my life? But yeah, well, I'm a PhD student at the Department of Energy Technology. At the same time, I do some other fun stuff on the side as well. I'm the Master of Ceremonies for the PhD chapter and the board member. I'm in the THS Student Union Council, and I'm also a member of the Student Council at the Royal Academy of Engineering. So, what do I do? Well, I'm still trying to figure that out, but, you know, as this guy said, if we knew what it was we were doing, it wouldn't be called research, would it? But to give you a rough idea, or, well, at least what I've understood so far what I'm doing, I'm working with energy in cities. Why am I doing it? Because, well, according to the UN projections, by 2050, 72% of the world population would be living in the cities. Despite the fact that cities cover only about 2% of the world's area, they account for about 67% of world's energy use and 70% of the greenhouse gas emissions. So, what I work with, well, how you can improve that situation, first of all, by having more energy efficient buildings, by focusing on energy efficiency at different levels. How you can, it becomes a part of the larger energy system. how you can integrate smart technologies into this whole scenario, and finally, the renewable energy aspect. I wouldn't bore you further with the details of what I'm doing, so I think it's more important that I focus on my journey. Unlike most people, I wasn't really motivated to go for a PhD as a kid. But when I finished my bachelor's, it was like, yeah, I don't think I want to study anymore. But then I started my master's, and within the first year of my master's, I knew that I wanted to go for a PhD. I was in contact with my supervisors and my professors, and there were some positions that needed to be filled, and I was really interested in working with those areas. So that's how I ended up here. The question now is what I've gained so far in this whole process. That's it's a very tough question to answer, really. There's a lot of things that I don't know about yet. PhD is quite challenging. If someone tells you that it's not, it's a lie. It means working a lot, working late hours at times, well, not having a life at times. But the important thing is that you need to focus on, you should get into a topic that you absolutely love. As I usually say, a PhD is sort of like getting into a long-term relationship. As long as you don't really love it, what you're doing, you end up frustrated. Another thing is that what a professor told me. It's important to focus on what gets you up in the morning. When you wake up, what gets you out of bed. So on those lines, one of the things that I've gained is every day brings a different challenge. One of the things I absolutely cannot stand is monotony. And with a PhD career, I have absolutely gotten over that feeling. When I finished my master's degree, it was a feeling that I had that I really didn't know enough about the area I was working with. And that was one of the main motivations for getting into a PhD. And I feel that it is bringing a much deeper understanding of my area. Working at KDH and pursuing a PhD, it has given me a great contact network, both internationally as well as locally, which is something that is always a plus in your career. It has given me an ability to research at one of the top-notch universities in the world, really, especially in my area, which is sustainable energy. You guys are all familiar that Obama was here to look at the various research that's going on in this area. So, you know, it's a huge source of pride for us. It has given me the feeling that I'm actually contributing to something good in the world, which is one of those things that really helps you get out of bed in the morning, really. And it has given me a great deal of exposure, both locally and internationally. I'm currently involved in several projects, both within Sweden and internationally. So this is how I summarize my experience as a PhD student. Now, I wouldn't like to talk way too much, and the idea is to have a more of an open interaction with you guys. So I'm open to questions from you. Just a fair warning: you should never ask a researcher two questions. First of all, what you're researching, and when do you intend to finish. So apart from that, shoot ahead. All right. So the question was, how are the PhD positions financed and advertised? Was that correct? Yes. Now I of course cannot say that for certain, but I can just tell you the experience and the knowledge I have. Um, all PhD positions are advertised by law. And one of the where you can find out about is, of course, the KDH website. You can there is certain other websites that sort of try to collect different calls for PhD studies. And another very good way to go about this is to keep an eye on what sort of research is going on at your department. There is, if your department has gotten new projects or something like that, that usually means that they would hire new PhD students. Another possibility is, of course, the scholarships. So if you have a scholarship, if you get funding from either your own country or through some other funding agencies, then you can pursue a PhD as well. You would have to discuss it with your professors and so on. My advice is stay in touch with your professors, talk to them, tell them you're interested. Try to look for an area that you're absolutely interested in. That's very important. Please. All right. So the question was, if I remember it exactly, it was how do you know what you want to research about, and is your research pathway sort of adaptable over time? Or yes, so the extension of the question is, should if I want to pursue a research, should I go for a PhD, and how do I go about that, right? Well, in my personal case, I sort of knew from somewhere in the middle of my master's that I wanted to go that way. I wasn't even looking for jobs when I was close to finishing. So I knew. The reason, the main motivation for that was I loved what I was studying, and I wanted to look into it even further. But when it comes to the adaptability, yes, it is adaptable to a certain degree. Of course, it depends a lot on your professor and your supervisors, as well as the projects you're involved in. So, for instance, if you get involved in a project that is 5 years long, encompassing your entire PhD, then of course it might be a bit difficult. But it varies quite often, but it is possible at times. I think you had a question? Right. Yeah. So the question was, what is the usual duration of a PhD, and how does it work with being involved with teaching and the industrial PhDs? How does that work? So typically, if you're employed by the university, the period is 5 years, which means that you're doing research 80% of your time, and for the rest 20% you're either teaching or you're involved in administrative activities. So that's the usual scheme. Now, when it and teaching can be a really fun challenge. It's quite interesting. I was really afraid of it, to be very honest, when I started. But once I got into it, it's really, really fun. When it comes to industrial PhDs, it basically implies that the company is sponsoring your time. They're paying you and they're sponsoring you. PhD education or the third cycle education in Sweden is free. So they're basically paying you and so on. How it works is that now this isn't a set in stone, but quite often you have to be working there for a year or two, and then you get into a PhD. But it depends, of course, on the companies as well.
I think that we will have time for one more question to Omar, and then we
Move on.
leave the stage for Saleh. Okay, so one more question.
Yes, I did. Oh, sorry. The question was if I pursued my master's at KDH, and yes, I did. And the question was, how does it affect in the process of getting a PhD at KDH, studying here for master's? Well, it does have an impact in terms of the fact that if you've stayed 2 years at a university and you have a certain level of knowledge of how things are working at the university, you also know what research areas are there, and which projects are going on. So it helps you find a direction, at least.
Hi, my name is Saleh Kargarazi, and I'm a PhD student in the Department of Devices and Circuits. My research topic is dedicated to design of circuits for high temperature applications, specifically in a technology called silicon carbide. Today, I'm going to share my experiences as a PhD student.
Thanks for joining this session. I'm going to talk with you about my life as a PhD student. Maybe my story is a little bit different with the other colleague. Still, the challenge of PhD studies is the same. I came to Sweden in 2008, and I did my master's studies in KTH, and then I started a job. So I had the feeling of, after finishing my master's studies, I liked to have some industrial experience. Meanwhile, I was also applying for jobs. I was also applying for PhDs, and I had several offers. So that was the case that then I needed to sit down and choose. Of course, I was also rejected by lots of the offers. Lots of the offers I didn't get, but still I had some offers and I needed to sit down and choose. So then there are some factors that matters in the choice of doing PhD or not doing PhD. For me, since I did some industrial work, 1 year of work, I started my PhD afterwards. So I'm going to share with you what was the reason that I didn't continue with the job and choose the PhD studies. One of these factors that I think it's very important is what are your future plans? Since, as Omar also talked about it, it's 4 to 5 years of your life, maybe the best time of your life, and you're going to spend in a topic. Of course, you need to really like that research topic. And after these 4 to 5 years, what are you planning to do? Do you want to stay in academy? Do you want to go to industry? Are you more interested in practical aspects? Are you more into theoric research? So that is one of the, in my mind, is one of the most important factors that matters in your choice. And where do you want to end up? Do you want to stay in Sweden? Then there's a question. If you want to do a job after that, maybe maybe as a PhD holder, it's not necessarily easier to find a job. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is the passion in research. So we had a question from the audience just a few minutes ago that is it the PhD studies that is we need to consider just because of the degree or because of the higher level of education, or it's the research that should be the concern? In my mind, you should be really passionate in the research. So it doesn't matter if you get some offers and reject. You are also rejected by some of the universities you apply, but that's fine, because after 4 to 5 years, then you are expert in a field. And even if in that time you think that I made a mistake, oh, I wanted to do something else, maybe it's a little bit late. So if you are really want to do PhD studies, my suggestion is go for something that you really like to do. And it also matters, what are the other alternatives? What are the other alternatives? If there are very good jobs out there, maybe they are better. In my case, one of the reasons that I choose to do PhD because the work situation was not that stable in my field. If I had a very good offer, maybe I would have made another choice. One of the things that is very important in my mind is how is your character? If you are willing to work with lots of people, you like to be in contact with people, consider the fact that working as a PhD student, you are working with limited number of people. You are working with your supervisor and then a team, which necessarily you may not be in direct contact with them. Maybe your research is not the same. So if you have a character that you like to be in contact with lots of people, this is something that you need to consider. And in my mind, someone who, that is just a personal mindset, that someone who wants to do PhD should have high emotional quality, because you need to work very well with that limited number of people. If you don't have good relation with those limited number of people, there is not any chance. I mean, you should make good relation. When you are in contact, like industries, when you are in contact with more number of people, when you are contacting customers, at some time you may choose to have more strong relation with some and don't have more strong relation with some others. But here, it's, in my mind, it's very important to have high emotional quality. And of course, financial support. Fortunately, in Sweden, the financial support is fair. It's very good comparing with like other universities in Europe and even like United States, Canada. As I compare with my friends who live there, if you get the salary according to the KTH rules, I think that's a good financial support. And for a PhD student, that's comparable with a job that you do outside in the company. And why I include nationality here? Because again, it's because it's a long time, and during this long time, if of course it's easier for Swedes that they live in their country and they study, it's the level of confidence that you have as a Swede and as an international student is not the same. So your nationality matters. if you you are kind of you have so much links in your country. If you are you don't have enough friends or as a network around you, that is easier. That make an easy environment for you, and that matters. That's something important in my mind. You need to enjoy these 4 to 5 years anyway. So, and for me, as a personal experience, I think I found Sweden a very good country. So for me, I accepted it and I enjoy it. Then I have just one slide. Meanwhile, from this lecture, these were all the factors that came to my mind when I was preparing this presentation. There could be other factors. If someone has something that want to add, I'm very happy to hear that. So it can be interactive. I mean, if someone has an idea, please. Otherwise, we go to the next lecture. Next slide. This 1 year work experience gives me a very good chance of comparison between the academy environment and industry environment, and what are the differences. So I listed some of them here. As in academy, it's you're working in a fundamental research that take long time, so it's slow pace. The result of your work, it takes so much time to see the result of your work. Maybe you don't see the result of your work in your lifespan. Maybe others will see it and admire it. While in industry, you work and you have specific deadlines. With that specific deadlines, you need to deliver, and you see the results. That's fast. So that is one of the differences. In academy, you work more or less independent. So you have a research topic, you need to write your thesis, and you get lots of bonuses to work independently. While in industry, there are so much collaboration. Because like, since I did, I'm into microelectronics background, when it's just an example of my field, that when a company wants to tape out a chip, if everyone in the company, all the designers need to collaborate to make to meet the deadline. If one of them couldn't make it, the other ones rush and try to help him and get it fixed. So in that sense, there are more sharing of information, and the learning is faster, while it is not always the case in academy. On the other hand, there is more flexibility in academy. It's not the discipline is not the same as industry, when you need to come and go at a specific time. It is the time, the working hours is more flexible, and you can also direct your research in the way you like, so you don't need to necessarily accept everything that your supervisor suggests you. You can give your suggestions, you can change it in the way you like, and so that can be seen as an advantage. In academy, you have access to plenty of resources, including softwares, lots of classes that you can just join, and these things doesn't exist in industry. And for the reason of flexibility, I think that the academy has a more creative environment, because it gives you the chance to sit down, implement your ideas, think about your ideas. It's a slow pace. The deadlines are not that strict, so you can spend enough time to implement your ideas. here is just an example. I can actually skip this slide, but just it's an example of my department, and I wanted to show you how much percentage of the students are international. Since I see here is also most of the people here are international, just the distribution is showing that it's only 11% of the PhD students are Swedes. So the acceptance rate in Sweden for international students are pretty high. And I just want to open up for questions, but before that, thank you for your time and attention.
Yes. Do we have questions also to Saleh? Please feel free.
As a PhD student at KTH, how do you personally feel the benefits that you get apart from the studies or the contribution that you do? All of us know that we need to be dedicated for so many hours, we need to give passion. Apart from that, what else would you suggest as what you'd like to share with us, the personal benefits that you get?
So, if I get correctly, the question is which other benefits do you get from studying doing PhD studies in Sweden, other than the contribution you have in your studies? Well, yeah. In KTH, if I want to talk about the facilities. The facilities are, it can vary field by field, but I can tell about my field that the facilities is comparable with high prestigious universities. So that is one of the biggest benefits that I get. And like when it comes to benefits, the financial support is always important, since you don't need to think about your financial life. You can just focus on your research, because you're sure that you have enough finance to live, for food, for books, for everything. So, and if you are recruited by the university, which is like in most of the cases, you get the benefits of like pension, insurance, and lots of social benefits that comes to your salary. I'm not sure. Did I get your question? Okay, perfect. Any other question? Yes, please. The question is, how does it work if you cannot make to finish your PhD studies during the assigned time? So, well, that is of course not a good thing, but if it happens, I think Swedish universities are pretty flexible with that. So it depends on the money that comes from a project that make your financial support, right? So when the financial support goes away, then there is not much money for you to be spent. But still, you can. I mean, I have seen some students. I have heard of some students who take so much time for them to finish their PhDs. Their project monies goes away, it is finished, but still they have the chance to finish their PhDs. So apart from the financial support that maybe doesn't exist anymore, there is not any problem to finish it. Maybe I'm not certain about that. Maybe there are some rules that I don't know, but this is the experience I see from the people around me. Yes? Yeah. So if I got the question is about the point that I made about working independent as a PhD student. Of course, you need to work independent as a PhD student because you have a topic that you need to fulfill yourself and it is not shared with others. But still, lots of collaborations are between departments of KTH, even with KTH, between KTH and other universities around the world. I can say as an example that we have, we in our department, in my project, we have collaboration with University of Udine in Italy, and we have collaboration with main campus. So that is something that happens. It's apart from the independent topic of your thesis. But still, when I compare it with industries, I can say it's, I see more collaboration in industry. Just because of the mutual needs or mutual purposes. Yes? Yes, please. Well, the question is about the industrial PhDs, while the question is who is going to supervise you. Normally, you should have a supervisor in university, but still you have the link between industry and university. There are some expectations from the industry, the company, and also some from the university. I'm not personally advocating industrial PhDs, although I was interested in that some time ago, but just because of the matter of you have double expectations from both sides, I'm not that much fan of it. But yeah, I mean, your supervisor will sit in university.
I think we maybe have time for one or two questions more, either to Saleh or our former speaker, Omar. Yeah, over there.
How much time do you devote on the research topic which you have chosen, and like in percentage, and how much time are you spending, say, probably, teaching, and or are you also doing projects apart from that research topic?
Yeah, so the question is how much time should someone spend for PhD studies, and how much dedication you should have. Well, it depends on the contract that you have for PhD studies. The contract that I have personally is full-time, which I need to spend all the time for my studies. I cannot do some side projects which is outside of my PhD duties. Of course, I can have some projects that is assigned by university or that is related to my work. But the kind of contract that I have said that I have full time. I need it is full time, and 80% I'm spending on my research. 20% I'm spending for the for university, which includes administrative, teaching assistantship, research assistantship. So that is the way it is. So
I would just repeat the same answer. Basically, it's you're working officially 40 hours a week, and it's 80-20 officially. Sometimes it varies. Your workload varies as well based on your deadlines and so on. So sometimes you're a bit more relaxed, sometimes it's a bit tight. You have to adapt a little bit to that.